the Ruger LCP II. Let's check it out. The Ruger LCP has been a huge favorite with concealed carry holders, and in fact in the first 5 years they sold over 1 million LCPs, and then they did an upgrade and now they've come out with the LCP II, and there are a lot of great features about this that are way above the original LCP. Guys, there are times where certain guns that are very popular have been upgraded and improved in different ways, but none so much as the LCP II. The original LCP had a terrible trigger, very low sights, very thin, difficult to shoot. And then they introduced a upgraded version with a better trigger, and it was nicer. In fact, that's the one that I have personally. It's a really good shooter. It's been great. But the LCP II has a lot of features. In fact, it's like they just went down a billet list and just addressed each one. First thing we're going to do is make sure the gun's unloaded. So we're going to drop the magazine, check the chamber. It does have a 6-round magazine, the same as the standard LCP. One of the things about this that's a little bit different is that on the last round it holds the bolt back, or the slide back. And so that's a big plus over the LCP. And I like that, especially with these really small pistols. You don't really see that often. Another big improvement are the front cocking serrations. It just makes it really easy to get, especially with a pistol this small. The slide is not that large anyway, so it gives you another place to be able to pull that back if you need to. And so that's a big plus. But one of the things is how easy the slide comes back. There's no resistance whatsoever, and it's very easy to pull back. Very reminiscent of the SIG P238, which is one of the smoothest slides I've seen. Now here we have the standard Ruger LCP. We're going to go ahead and double check, make sure it's unloaded. One of the things you'll notice is when you're pulling the slide back, there's a bump right here, and you have to pull it back. And it's definitely a lot more effort to pull this slide back than it is the new LCP II. And this is excellent. Now, one of the things about the original LCP is the magazines will work in the LCP II. But the original magazines will not hold the slide back. I think some of the extended butt plates, they'll interfere right here with the extended magazines. So, but you can use the standard 6-round magazine, and they fit in either one. It does have a small little pinky rest right here, but it does come with just a flat base plate if you really want to get this small. To be honest though, even with the pinky extension, there is no pinky. This just gets a hold right here. Now, one of the things about a small pistol like this is I put most of the pressure of gripping in these two areas. You'll notice that it has a really beautiful laser etched texturing that goes all the way around in these panels, and also on the back and the front. And when you're shooting this gun, it doesn't feel like it's going to come flying out of your hand, which makes it nice. But with the original, it was so thin. In fact, I put Talon grips on there because it was that thin. Now, because of that, you can't really see the grips, and so what I've done is I'm going to go ahead and pull this back. I'm going to probably have to replace them now that I've done that. But it's kind of a checkering here, and this was fine, but it just wasn't quite as adequate as this is. To me, I don't think I'd really put Talon grips on here. I may just for a little more comfort, because there is a rubberized texture to these. But this really fits in the hand well. Another thing about it is the grip is a little bit thicker right in here in this panel, where it's not with the standard. Now obviously with the Talon grips it's going to be a little bit of more thickness, but even then this is considerably more hand filling, and with a small pistol like this it helps, but it doesn't take away from the concealability. it's still a very thin handgun. Now the sights on the LCP were very minimal. Here you can see that they are raised, and there are serrations that are added to the back. And then when we get to the front sight, it's raised just a little bit as well. So it also has serrations on the front. And even though the frame and the slide are the same length for both pistols, the original LCP had an angle cut right here. So it brought the rear sight forward. You'll notice that the rear sight on the LCP II, it's a little bit back, and it gives it more sight radius. The trigger guard on the LCP is cut very close, whereas on the new LCP II, it's a little more squared. Here with the LCP II, it's a little more squared off than it is on the original. And the slide hold open is a little bit larger than it is on the original LCP. In fact, this is much easier to engage. The original LCP can be a little bit tricky to get that little button up there to engage your slide. But one of the biggest improvements is on the trigger, and we're going to double check, make sure the gun is unloaded. I'm going to leave the magazine in to give it a little bit of length. On the original, it's a really tough pull. I mean, there's a lot of resistance and then a snap. On the LCP II, we do have a trigger safety right here. That means that you're not going to inadvertently, unless you mean to, pull the trigger. It's just free floating right here, and then when you get here, there's a little resistance and then a nice crisp snap, and I mean a nice snap. Check reset right there, and then the trigger moves on forward. Reset with the original, you hear a click here, but it's not engaged yet. You have to continue right there. So it's a considerable more distance, and then we release just a little bit of travel. In this slot, that's the hammer, and when you pull it, you can see that it comes back and then it disappears. That's one of the things on the LCP II that's different. It is already pre-cocked. When you pull the slide back, it actually cocks the hammer partially. So when you pull it, you're just snapping it forward. And that makes a huge difference with trigger pull. So all the way around, this trigger is much improved over the original LCP. Let's check the trigger pull weight. 5 pounds, 12.5 ounces. 6 pounds 2 ounces, 6 pounds 5 ounces, so just around the 6 pound mark. The LCP II is 5 inches in length, it's 3 3/4 inches in height, and then if you add the pinky extension on your magazine base plate, it makes it 4 inches. So it's still a super compact pistol, and again, it's just 1 inch right here. The weight on the original LCP was just under 10 ounces at 9.75 ounces. The LCP II is just under 11 ounces at about 10.75 ounces. So there's about an ounce difference between the two pistols. It comes with one 6-round magazine, which I'd really like to see an extra magazine, but it does come with a small little pocket holster. And this is one of the sticky holsters. It'll retain itself in your pocket, and then it has the hook to be able to catch. This is a nice little holster and a great addition for this pistol. I believe with the original LCP it just came with a little pouch, and I definitely prefer the holster over a small pouch. I want to thank Freedom Munitions for sponsoring the ammo. You get a 5% discount using Suit00 when you check out. And this is good shooting stuff. This is their new manufactured ammunition. We shot over 200 rounds through the LCP II. One of the things about this is a micro compact, so you really need some range time to be able to master the control on this pistol. I mean, it's not that bad to shoot, but after a few rounds you can tell you know, that it will work on your hand a little bit. But one of the things I always do is grab it from the front and the back strap, and that's how I hold it. And really it helps to control the pistol. The only thing that I had any issues with were the front sight. Sometimes I really couldn't see it that well, but that has a lot to do with my aging eyes. You know, a little bit of paint will fix that. But overall, the gun shot fantastically. I mean, we shot over, again, 200 rounds, went through it, and without any kind of bobbles, any kind of hiccups. I know early on some of the very first LCP IIs had some issues. There were a few that did, and I've seen some instances. But with this one, and I think Ruger's fixed it, it just ran like a top. The last round hold open is nice. You know, when you finish those 6 rounds, you know, it just holds open, you know that you're done, ready to change magazines. With the original LCP, obviously it didn't have that. The slide, very easy to rack, front serrations are nice, allows you to get there, especially with this small pistol. Having this, to me, is more of an advantage than it is on some of the larger ones. And even though the sights, for me, were a little more difficult to see, they're much more improved than the regular LCP. The little bit of thickness on the grip, it definitely helps to control it. Gives you just a little bit more in your hand, but still your pinky is going to hang off. But I found that really those 2 fingers and my thumb are enough to get the accuracy that I need and be able to control the pistol. So I'm more than happy to trade that off for the concealability of the pistol. The really crisp trigger was an advantage, definitely. I knew when the gun was gonna fire, I wasn't pulling through all the way like you were on the standard LCP. With that real light take up, and then when you get to that wall, it's a good snap, and I was very impressed with this trigger. The included pocket holster is a great addition to this setup, and it just makes it really nice to be able to have something immediately. When you slip it down in your pocket, you don't even know it's there. It keeps the gun orientated in the right direction, so when you need to pull it out, you can do so, and it's in your shooting position. And the music was provided by shootsteel.com. They're now offering a 10% discount using Suit00 when you check out. So check it out. Now, disassembly of the firearm is the same as the original. Just remove your magazine, double check to make sure the gun is unloaded. We're going to go ahead and pull the trigger. Then we're going to release right here. You can take a spent shell or a small screwdriver. Bring this back just a little bit and then pop your pin out. And then we can just remove the slide, and then your recoil spring and guide rod and your barrel. The barrel is 2.7 inches. This has been a proven design. It's pretty much the same design internally as the standard LCP. You have a lot of slide rail right here. It gives it some good stability. And that's all you need to do to field strip the pistol. Let's go ahead and reassemble. We're going to drop our barrel in. The guide rod is metal. It's not captive, and there is 2 recoil springs here. Just enter in your recoil spring like you typically do. Take it and put it over the slide. We're going to bring back just a touch and then just push the pin through. You want a function check, and we're ready to go. And I'm not going to go through everything, but you just get the standard cardboard box, and there's a lock in here and the owner's manual and stuff like that. Of course, the holster did come with it. So this keeps the price down, and I'd rather have better price than have a nice, super cool box. Now, I bought this gun from gunprodeals.com for $242, which I thought was a really great price. They also carry the one with the laser on the front for $302, which is a great deal. And then for the standard LCP, they're selling those for $223. So check out gunprodeals.com. It's a great source. In fact, they're going to start sending me pistols to do different reviews for, and I really appreciate their help. But they've got a lot of great prices on there. They run a lot of specials, and they're a Class 3 dealer. So just want to give a big shout out and a thanks to gunprodeals.com. And yes, I bought this pistol, but as they say, too many guns, not enough funds. As far as pros and cons of the pistol, a big pro is the trigger. Just exceptional trigger for this size pistol. The best on the market. And I think the extra slide serrations and the slide being so easy to bring back. Also with the last round bolt hold open, there's just a lot of great things about this pistol that really are so much more above the LCP. And to be honest with you guys, I was pretty pleased with the LCP for what it is. But now I'm spoiled. I mean, this gun has definitely taken it up a notch. As far as cons go, the sights, I can't really see them as well, but that's going to be the problem with any of these pistols. With my LCP, the original, it was stainless, so I was able to pick up that front sight a little better. So a little bit of paint on the end or fingernail polish will be able to fix that in no time. But other than that, there was no issues whatsoever. The gun is very reliable. And I think this is definitely going to be a winner, and it's going to replace my LCP as my deep cover option. So if you're looking for a solid, reliable handgun for deep concealed carry, I would highly recommend the Ruger LCP. For a number of years now, I've been carrying the Ruger LCP, the standard, but with the advantages of the LCP II, this is definitely going to replace it. And again, a big shout out to gunprodeals.com. Great prices, great service, and they're great to deal with. And I really appreciate their support. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Dual guide rods. Okay. Guys, Ruger did it. Okay. Guys, Ruger did it. Okay. Guys, Ruger did it. Okay. And that brings the front, okay. 5 pounds, 12.5 ounce. For me, really having this in my pocket, the magazine. Now the wrist, and this is all you need to do. And again, now I purchased this pistol. Now I purchased the really crisp trigger was a joy. The really crisp trigger